Hello, and welcome back to the Cinema Lounge, where we chill and we talk about movies and this week TV shows. My name is Garrett Inman. I am your host for this week, every past week, except for one episode, but I'm usually the host around here. And today we're going to talk about Squid Games, or Squid Game. I think it's just singular, Squid Game. It is a Korean Netflix show that has kind of just taken over the world. It's kind of, I guess, this year's Tiger King, where it just kind of dropped on Netflix and suddenly just blew up. I think right now, in terms of number of streams, Squid Game is the most popular Netflix show of all time, which is kind of crazy considering the general stereotype that typical American audiences don't like to view shows and movies that aren't in English. But this kind of overtook it, as did something like Parasite from last year. And now it's something that everyone's talking about. It took me about a month to actually get around to watch it. I watched it last week. I posted something on Instagram. I was going to post a short review. Then I just was like, you know what? Nah, screw it. We're going to do an episode on Squid Game this week. So that's what we're doing. But before we do that, how are you guys? I'm good. Thank you very much for asking. No, I'm recording this on a Sunday afternoon, and I am just kind of chilling. It's yesterday and today have kind of been the first couple of days where I really just got to chill and take a breath. Nothing really huge that needs my immediate attention, so I've just kind of took the past couple days to relax before getting into editing some stuff, working on our final homework assignments and all that. Boy, I love college. Man, college is great. I don't know why people don't go to college. But yeah, let's just jump in here and talk about Squid Game, because a lot of people seem to love it. Everyone seems to love it. Even your typical sticklers kind of like it. I watched Your Movie Sucks review of this show, and I don't know, I've had an interesting relationship with his videos, because I used to love him when I was in high school or middle school, and that was kind of one of the first YouTube movie reviewers that I started watching, and then later high school years I stopped watching him as much, mainly because I tend to disagree with him on almost every movie or show he watches. And my buddy was starting to have a problem with just how negative he seems to be. So both of us kind of collectively phased out of watching him. My buddy unsubbed from him. I didn't. I tuned in occasionally. But now I feel like nowadays I identify more with him. Just super cynical on blockbuster movie making, and just like I feel like I don't like as many movies that come out as I used to. Usually every year I try to find at least one movie that I would give a 10 out of 10. And we are in November. So far there has not been a 2021 movie that I've completely fallen in love with. Every movie that has come out, I've had at the very least itty bitty problems that really bothered me. But so I don't know if it's just because as I get older I am becoming more cynical. But yeah, so that all is to say, I pretty much agree with most of what Adam at Your Movie Sucks said about this show. I do think that it's enjoyable. I think it has its intense moments, really good characters, but just as we got further and further into the end game, it just completely collapsed. By the time the last episode came around, I almost had ceased caring about what was happening on screen. But before we do that, let's talk about what I liked. pretty much for me, the first 6 episodes I think were great, and this is where I disagree with Your Movie Sucks. Your Movie Sucks started to not like the show at around episode 6, which is at the last moment I checked is the highest rated episode of the season right now, which is the Ganbu with the marble game. I freaking loved the episode. He didn't. Um, and I think after that episode it falls apart. He thinks that's the episode in which it does, which I understand the reasoning. But those first 6 episodes, I think, do a really good job at establishing our characters, at establishing kind of the world, the concept, and establishing good tension. But once we finally get a clearer picture of what's happening, the clearer the picture, the uglier it gets, I suppose. Where before, I'm trying to think of I'm someone who really likes coming up with just random metaphors and similes to describe how I'm thinking. So it's like you have I don't know, let's say we have a 1080p, like not the best quality, but a solid quality image. And you're looking at it and it looks good. It looks like it's really good. And then you decide to transfer that over to 4K or something, and suddenly that image is crisp, it's clean. You finally see what all's going on, and you're just like, it's not that good. That's kind of how it was for me with Squid Game. The first part of the season, I think, was really solid. The games especially. The first episode where Gi-hoon goes to this place. He loses this slap match against the recruiter character who was in Train to Busan. The actor was in Train to Busan. But he loses the slap match. He decides to accept this game. And when he goes, they start doing red light, green light. I already knew what was happening going into it, because the whole red light, green light situation has been memed to hell, like all over the internet. Like it's everywhere. But even still, with that context, it still like just comes as a sudden shock where these guys just think they're going to compete in like Wipeout or one of the various Japanese weird wacky game shows that are so entertaining to watch. So they go expecting that, and then the minute one person moves and gets shot, suddenly you go, oh, this is not what they signed up for at all. So everyone's panicking, everyone's freaking out and running, getting shot, mowed down, and only the people with nerves of steel just going, all right, we just gotta make it to the end. It is still probably my favorite game because it's just that iconic that they have to go back to that area later in the season. That is all over the internet. This is the part of the show that grabbed people, that made people want to share it. And I understand. I think that particular scene is probably one of, if not the best scene in the show. But yeah, I really like it. The second game, they do this honeycomb thing. I forget what it's called. I'm just going to call it honeycomb, where they have to take this honeycomb cookie and carve a particular shape out of it based off of the shape that they chose without knowing what the game was. And that was also really intense because these characters, first off, there was a betrayal from Sung-woo, who in the show is presented as this businessman who's in debt. He has a gambling problem, and he was a school friend of Gi-hoon. Both of them went to the same trade. I think it was a trade school. It might have been like a prestigious university or business school, but they went to school together. And Sung-woo made something of himself. Gi-hoon didn't. So they already have this pre-established relationship, which also makes it when the honeycomb challenge comes up, Sung-woo had figured out what it was. Because this character named Saibyo, she she's a pickpocket who robs Gi-hoon in the first episode, and she sneaks into the air vents and sees them cooking something with a lot of sugar. Sung-woo sees that, and then when he sees the shapes, he pieces it all together and goes, this is the honeycomb game. So he picks a circle, which is the most basic shape to carve out of a cookie. But he doesn't tell anyone else, and he just lets them pick their poison and almost screws Ki-hoon over because he has to draw an umbrella. So once you realize what it is, it's like the intensity's cranked up a notch because A, Gi-hoon has been betrayed. He got a little bit of a needle stabbed in his back. But even that, they're just sitting. It's literally just a tiny room that looks like a playground, and these grown adults are sitting cross-legged, and they just have this cookie and a little needle, and most of them are putting it in their mouth to kind of make that area a little soggier as they kind of carve into the cookie, with these dudes with guns walking around. It's a very intense scene, especially as more and more people either get shot or finish and leaving Gi-hoon trying to desperately to carve out this umbrella. And in this brilliant moment, he realizes, wait, we use spit and water on the needle to like mold up the cookie. So he goes, screw it, and just begins licking the dang thing. So that's a very good, intense little game right there, because it starts to introduce the inherent selfishness of a lot of these characters. The tug of war game, also very intense. I was watching it and it cuts off in the middle of it for a cliffhanger that basically was just like, screw you guys. I gotta watch the next episode now. I can't just stop whatever it is or go do whatever it is I was going to do. Screw it. I know I have to get to class, but geez, I got to figure out what happened with this tug of war game. You see one game play out before our main characters go up against each other or go up against another team, where Deok-soo, who for all intents and purposes is basically our main antagonist amongst the group for most of this season. He's kind of this antagonistic role. He's a thug who got into gambling problems and debt. But you see him gather up his team of henchmen, and they, kill someone. They kill the other team in a game of tug of war that sends them plummeting to their death. So it sets this up, and when you see our main characters go up against another team, it's a fight to the death. Their team is composed of an old dude named Ilnam, Sung-woo, Ji-hoon, Saibyo, who's, a skinny girl who also recruits another smaller, younger girl. You have Min-yo, who's, I think she's like a prostitute or something. I don't know if they painted a clear picture as to who she was, but she's kind of just this crazy woman who just smokes a lot, swears a lot. She's loud, she's obnoxious, she's openly trying to get with Deok-soo. But she's also kind of a skinny, small woman. Like, not a lot of these people have muscles on them. And then they had Ali, who is I think he's Middle Eastern. He's a Middle Eastern guy who just happened to be in Korea when all this stuff was happening and gets roped into this game. So they're all trying to work together. This team of just, I don't really think any of them are muscular. Maybe Sung-woo and Ali are, but the rest of them are just a bunch of scrawny people with no muscle. But they have to incorporate these strategies in order to win, and it's so intense. It's so interesting to watch. And then that leads us to the marble game. Jeez. The marble game isn't as intense as the first three. The first three, there's a timer constantly going. They're working against the clock while competing with other people, and if they mess up once, they're dead. This is more, they have to pick partners. And I kind of called it when I was watching it. I said, they're going to have to go up against the partner that they pick, and the partner they pick is going to end up dying. Right. So, it lost a little bit of tension there where it kind of felt like it was a little too telegraphed where, oh, Gi-hoon picks the old man. Well, Gi-hoon's going to win and the old man's going to die. Sung-woo and Ali team up, and I'm like, well, Sung-woo's going to win and Ali's going to die. It did kind of feel like they were just trying to cleanse, they were trying to Thanos snap the cast, basically, and wipe out half of them up, just so we have smaller numbers leading into the end game of the show. However, that all being said, in the moment, this game did, while not as intense, it's just them playing various marble games with each other and trying to take all the marbles from their partner so they can live and that the partner can die. It's not as intense, but it does provide for a lot of good emotional moments, right? Saibyo has to go up against this random girl that she recruited for the tug of war thing, and they get to have a conversation about Saibyo's backstory, right? Her character. You get to know more about her. Ilnam and Gi-hoon get to talk, although Ilnam he pulls some dementia shenanigans intentionally to mess with Gi-hoon's head, which I also was sitting there like, something fishy's going on here. Like, this man is getting dementia way too convenient at a time. I thought, for me, I thought he was just messing with him and was just like, oh yeah, no, I just want to mess with you to just, I don't know, test our friendship or something, right? Or I was just having fun. But there's still a lot of good emotional moments there, especially when he is pretending to have dementia and Gi-hoon tries to take advantage of it, and then Ilnam like calls him out and he says, yeah, Gi-hoon's like, this is so messed up, and Ilnam just goes, yeah, almost as messed up as lying to your friend or taking advantage of your friend. I go, oof. Like, I knew he was faking it, but oof, that's a bit of a gut punch right there. It forces our characters into these situations where they have to kill someone. Like, they have to directly kill someone that they've come to know in the past 3 or 4 days. It also kind of feels a bit like Love. I'm a Love Island person. I watch it occasionally, but it feels like that, where these people get way too emotionally attached to each other within a short span of days just by being in the same room and having to interact with each other and do activities together. That's why Love Island, there's these giant freaking freakouts where it's like, you've only known these people for 2 weeks and one of them's already talking about marriage or something. I just watched an episode like last week or something. I just watch it when I just want my trash TV fix. That's my go-to. Where these two people are having couple problems, and one of them was like, well, why don't, this was Love Island Australia, he was like, why don't you want to go move to wherever I live, I don't know, why don't you want to go live with it? And he's like, because I've only known you for like 2 weeks. I'm not in love with you. We're a couple. I think you're hot. We kissed a couple times, but like, we've known each other for 2 weeks. There could be a freaking smoking hot woman walking through the door tomorrow, and I might want to be with her more than I want to be with you. I'm not going to commit to moving cities just for a girl I've met for 2 weeks. I'm like, this dude's rational. This is like, I'm with this guy here. Like, I get that you guys have been forced into this area for 2 weeks, and there's like it's a very emotional area. You've seen some stuff that you probably didn't want to see, and baggage that's been unloaded, and you shared experiences with each other, but also you've only known him for 2 weeks. Like, I honestly, I would be surprised if any couple coming out of Love Island or any of these stupid dating shows lasted more than a year. Most of them haven't, from what I've seen. I think there's been a few that have survived the test of time, but for the most part, if you know someone for 2 weeks, like, it's weird to me that you would have such a deep emotional connection, but also shared experiences bring people together. There's a guy that I was in the marching band in high school, and I knew him for maybe 2 or 3 years. But when our final marching performance, we performed, and it was like we were fighting for our lives, and we were on drumline together. And at the end, we just like hugged, and we were crying and sweating and all this kind of stuff. I don't talk to him anymore, but I still think of that moment where we're just like embracing and their emotions are high. So I guess I'm saying this to say, I guess it's a valid criticism to say it is weird that people are getting so emotionally attached to people they've known for less than a week. But on the other hand, I get it. When you have these shared experiences, especially when they're these intense, emotionally heightened scenarios, like fighting for your life in a children's game and watching people die around you, watching people turn on each other and shank each other at night, and you have to protect their lives out of the goodness of your heart, there is this ratcheted up emotion. Which comes through in this game, where you have had these intense emotional experiences with these people to where you have grown close to each other, and now suddenly you have to kill them. However, I do wish a couple of things. I think Gi-hoon jumped way too quickly at the chance to kill Il-nam. I wish he struggled with it more and tried to rationalize it with himself more. And I wish we got to see more of the couple. There's a couple in the show that joins the game together, and they pair up for this game, and they have to play against each other. They were only shown a couple times, but I really wanted to see more of that, because imagine you and your wife, you and your significant other, you join this game to make money back and try to like better your lifestyle, and you get to a point where you have to play a game against your spouse. And if you win, your spouse dies. But if they win, you die. That is emotionally rich stuff, and I wish they showed more of that, because that's such a good setup that they didn't really do a lot with, which is a start of a pattern of my main criticism of the show. But that'll be a tease for a little later. First, let's wrap up the rest of the games. Next, there's this like Hopscotch game. I'm not entirely sure what it was trying to be. I'm assuming it's something like Hopscotch, where there's these two rows of panel glass on the right and left. One of them you will break and you'll fall through and plummet to your death. The other one will support you. And it is a really good, intense game. My only issue is there's a storyline. There's two main character deaths in this game that I think were just so underwhelming. Second, this is the episode that introduces the VIPs. Holy crap, the VIPs are some of the most annoying characters I've seen on screen this year. Holy crap, they suck. I hate them. I hate them so much. And not in like a Loki, like, you love to hate him. He's such a devious little douchebag that you just want to see him die, but you love how freaking evil he is. No, they're just like annoying. Like they're not. They're just like, I don't know. It's like you go to a school or something, and these tiny children just want to pick a fight with you, and they're just sitting there going, and you're just like trying to have a conversation with someone, and there's just this like little 6-year-old kid punching you in the leg, and you're not having it. That's how I felt with these guys. It's like, I get that, I guess you want to expand the world, but I'm trying to watch this game. I want to see the intense raw emotions going on here. Why are we cutting back to these annoying rich dudes with animal masks on explaining exactly what's happening? That's annoying. I don't want to be like watching this intense game and they go like, oh man, what decision is he gonna make? Shut up, dude. I didn't ask for commentators. I didn't ask for commentators on this. This isn't a football game. This is a life or death situation. I don't really want you just sitting over my shoulder going, man, Gi-hoon is sitting at the eighth glass panel. Let's see what he's gonna do. What do you think he's gonna do, Jim? I don't know. His track record in the past few games have been pretty spectacular. I have high hopes for him. However, that dude, that crazy Christian guy who just pushed someone into a broken glass panel, I don't think he's gonna make it, Jim. Thanks, other Jim. That was annoying to me. I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to see these guys. I didn't want to see a fat southern lion masked guy flirt with Jun-ho, who I haven't mentioned yet, but Jun-ho is a police captain who gets involved after the characters decide to vote to end the game early in the second episode. They go back out. Gi-hoon bumps into him. He follows Gi-hoon to the games, and now he's investigating because his little brother went and participated in the Squid Game and disappeared, and he has infiltrated everything. So he's there, and he's getting sexually harassed by a fat southern dude, which I feel like that's a stereotype. I'm not entirely sure. The fat southern gay politician, or the fat southern politician who's secretly gay and likes to sexually assault the men who work for him. I feel like that's very specific, but I feel like that's a trope because I'm watching and I'm like, I feel like I've seen this kind of stuff before. And it's just annoying here. But yeah, besides that, the Hopscotch game, it was nice. It was intense. I think it was a less intense and emotionally rich and satisfying as the previous games, but it was solid. And then we got to the titular Squid Game as the final game where Gi-hoon and Sung-woo face off, and it was very underwhelming in my opinion. It was over in like 15 minutes max. And it's just kind of, they play the game for a little bit, and then they just get into like a fist fight, and then Gi-hoon goes, I don't really want to kill you because I've refound my morality, and Sung-woo just goes, oh, I'm sorry then, and then kills himself. I wish it was just more like, actually a Squid Game. I don't care about that. I wish it was just more straight up a Squid Game with this whole banter and that kind of stuff. But, it kind of petered out a little bit. But that being said, I think all the characters were good. I think they're all really well developed, really well established. I think they all have pretty solid backgrounds from what they show you. Gi-hoon is a great protagonist. Deok-soo is a great antagonist up until he dies in the Hopscotch game. And that at that point, Sung-woo replaces him. And I think Sung-woo's descent into villainy, I think, was well earned. I liked it. I thought it was well developed. Saibyo, I think her character was done really well, where she's kind of this moral gray character. Also, I think that just her background was really well done. Ilnam, I love the old man. I think he's very entertaining. I just don't like what they did with him in the last episode. Jun-ho was great. I loved his plot line. I really liked the investigation of him just breaking in to the Squid Game and trying to figure something out. Ali, I thought, was a really good character, just in terms of him being there, right? It's a bunch of Korean locals and then just this random dude from the Middle East kind of coming in and just going, yeah, I guess I'm here. I think they said he was like a foreign exchange student or something like that. But he was just an interesting addition, because usually Korea and Japan and China I think they're usually like ethnically homogenized in terms of how they're portrayed in movies and media. And then Minyo, who's the crazy girl, I liked her. I liked all the characters. My issue comes with the story. I really liked how it's set up. Like I said, the games, the mystery, the designs of everything, the children's game aspect was really interesting. The fact that they left the game in episode 2 completely caught me off guard. I didn't expect them to just do a vote and go, all right, no more Squid Game, and they just leave. And I go, well, what? But it was great because it gave us an opportunity to see all of our main characters at home with their struggles. Gi-hoon and his debt and living with his mom, Sung-woo, and his mom running this like fruit stand. Saibyo having a little brother. Uh, Deok-soo and his interactions with this criminal gang organization. All of this kind of building up our characters so we have more context. So when they finally give up and give in and go back to the Squid Game of their own volition, which is also really interesting, where it's not that these people are forced to do the game. They are there as long as they want to be there. But the fact that they see and experience this horrible crap, but at the end of the day, they're still willing to put up with it for the chance at some money. Some money to improve their lives. It helps develop the themes of this show, which I guess I'll go into because some of the conversation around this show has been annoying, where they're just like, this is a perfect anti-capitalism masterpiece or whatever. I'm just like, I think I said this like a couple weeks ago. Dude, can we chill with the whole like treating everything that has to do with evil rich people is an attack on capitalism and that it's brave and bold and beautiful? If that was the case, just about every movie is anti-capitalist. Like, you know, and if that's the case, quit treating every movie like it's special for doing that, right? If anything, it would be more interesting to see a movie that portrays the opposite of that. If the case is every movie's anti-capitalist. Here's the thing: the show. First off, not everything that's about evil rich dudes is anti-capitalist. Right, you could say it's anti-money, it's anti-power, showing how corrupt people with power like to take pleasure in forcing their power upon other people and playing with their lives. That's not inherently a capitalist thing. People have just ascribed that. Like, capitalism is free market and free competition. Evil businessmen is like a completely separate thing in my view. And what this show I felt was doing was how there's these kind of power games going on in society, where these people up at the top in the rich elites, they like to play these games with people's lives. And while yes, we have kind of an option whether or not we want to participate in these stupid like political games that the rich elites play. But at the end of the day, like, our lives kind of suck outside of that kind of game or outside of that system, to where we're just willingly throwing ourselves in there and going, you know what, screw it. You know, I might get a better life if I throw myself in with the elite and do whatever it is they say. So I don't know. That's kind of how I took it, is just this show of corruption and power, and how everyone kind of plays a part in this system of, what's the word? How pretty much everyone in a society plays upon an agreed game and participate in this sort of, not power structure or struggle, but like power abuse, right? Where people in power are going to abuse their power in order to control the people who don't have as much power, while the people who don't have as much power actively choose to participate in the power abuse just because they think they want a more convenient life. If anything, you could say, right, it's something like Amazon, where yes, it's good to go, right? I don't want to live in a world where drones are dropping crap off at my door because I don't know what's there. These drones can see everything, invade our privacy. I would much rather us just go back to sourcing locally our food and our products and building up local economies and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a lot more convenient, and it makes our lives easier if I can just sit down while I'm watching TV, look up a a new webcam on Amazon and buy that. It's a lot more convenient, and it makes my life quote unquote better to participate in this whole like power dynamic of, yeah, Amazon's eventually just going to control everything and they're just going to get richer and richer and richer. And, you know, everyone goes like, ooh, I hate Jeff Bezos and ooh, I hate Amazon. But then they go home, you know, they typed out that tweet, pleased with themselves, put down their phones, sit at the computer and go, dang, I need some new lipstick. And then they look up like red lipstick on Amazon. Oh, it can be here in 2 days. Cool. And it's only $5. And suddenly they got it. They just participated and gave money to the corporation they just said they hated. I feel like that's what they were going for. That's the feeling I got, where it's this whole here on the lower rungs of society, it's this free-for-all battle of survival, but yet we actively participate in it, and it's something we don't have to participate in, but we just choose to engage in this kind of power struggle, this power structure where we're abused at the bottom because at the end of the day, it feels more convenient. It feels easier than fending for ourselves out in the craziness, out in the wilderness, you know. But yeah, that's kind of how I felt. Just going back to the story, I like that characters actually die throughout. It's not just kind of like, we're going to save up our main group and kill them off one by one in the last couple episodes. People die throughout the episodes, whether it's the Christian dude, the couple, the Saibio's little girlfriend, you know, all these characters kind of die in each episode. In each episode, there are actual deaths, there are actual consequences to actions, and I really like that. And then kind of the last beat before I get into the big criticism. Junho's investigation. Oh, I loved it. I loved the development of it, at least. Him breaking into the Squid Games. I loved it. I love watching it. And now it felt a lot like I was watching a Hitman game. I really like the Hitman game. I've played some of the first one. I have the second one, I believe. I haven't played the third one at all. But I'm telling you, I would love some DLC where you get to play as Junho infiltrating the Squid Game, where you get to play this massive map and you just take out guards, put on the disguise, and then you will go about your business. And then you take out the square managers and take them out, steal their disguise, take out the front man, steal his disguise, and work your way up to kill, the guy in charge. I feel like that would be so much fun. That would be so much fun. I would love that. I would play that to death. But yeah, I'm going to use this as a transition into my criticism. I hate the way it ended. I hate the way Junho's investigation ended, because it wasn't him finally exposing something, or it wasn't him finally learning everything and then fighting his way to get... No, it's he gets caught prematurely, or he gets found out prematurely. The front man comes after him. He's cornered on a freaking cliff. They have some really ridiculously cliche dialogue before the front man goes, before Junho's like, you guys killed my brother. Where's my brother? And the front man just goes, it's like the whole Darth Vader thing. I feels like, where it's just like, no, I am your brother. And he goes, what? My brother? And then the front man shoots him and he dies, and that's it. This is my biggest criticism of the show. They didn't know how to properly end any of the stories they were going for. Since we're on the subject of Junho, the entire purpose of Junho's investigation at the end of the day was pointless, because all it served to do was to give us a twist reveal that without the character who got shot and died right after finding out, it doesn't matter to the story. Junho was the only one who was there to investigate about his brother. Junho was the only one who knew about his brother's disappearance within the Squid Game. Jun-ho is the only character we meet who even knows his brother exists. So when the frontman reveals himself as his brother, the only character that impacts is Jun-ho. Here's the issue. Jun-ho immediately gets shot after the reveal. So thus, the dramatic weight of that completely dissipates, because now Jun-ho is dead. The only person who would have changed course of action or would have had this new emotional motivation behind doing what he does is dead. But the audience now knows frontman is Jun-ho's brother, but none of the other characters on the show do. So what's the point of that reveal? There's no point to that reveal if the one character that impacts immediately dies afterwards. What is the point of that? It's so freaking frustrating, because it's like, at the very least, if he got away, it was a stupid reveal. But at the very least, if he got away, he would have reinforced vigor to go after the Squid Game, to reveal the Squid Game. Or at the very least, to go and try to save his brother and fight to save his brother, recruit Gi-hoon, or something like that. But the fact that he immediately dies after the reveal, he doesn't get to do anything with that information. None of the other characters know about it. So it's only for the audience's benefit, for shock value, or for like, it felt like so much like a soap opera, right? Where it's like, one of those stinking telenovelas, where it's just like, oh man, my father's dead. And then the random dude with the mustache just steps out of the shadow and is like, no, I am your father. And it's like, whoa! Like, that's what it felt like. It's just this weird reveal that didn't serve any purpose other to dramatically shock the audience before completely cheapening it. That was so frustrating to me. Because that pretty much just meant Jun-ho's entire story arc was pointless. It rendered all the time we spent building up to, I think it was episode 8. All 8 episodes leading up to that, there was no purpose to it, because Jun-ho didn't get to actually impact the plot. He only just found out about something and got shot. Right? He killed a couple of guards, sure, but those guards didn't do anything in the plot A. This was just a random B plot that went nowhere. If at the very least Jun-ho recruited Gi-hoon into this little cabal to like fight back against the Squid Game, okay, fine, because then Jun-ho would have gone missing, and leaving Gi-hoon out in the wind, and suddenly it adds tension maybe to the final match where now he has 0 allies. Maybe. But the issue is that Jun-ho doesn't even tell Gi-hoon about any of this. He just follows Gi-hoon, and then like one scene where he's in the room with the other, like one of the only scenes in which he actually shares screen time with the other characters, he just like has some cryptic message, and Gi-hoon recognizes it. That's it. And Gi-hoon does nothing with that information. Jun-ho goes on his way and gets shot off on his own adventure. And it didn't feel satisfying, and it didn't feel particularly, like, it didn't feel dramatically satisfying one way or another. It didn't feel like, oh, he got away and he's going to reveal everything. Or he finally has his hands on information. It's the tragic arc of him not being, no, it's just like, shock, twist, reveal, bam, and now no one cares. Other conclusions in this show that I just thought did not work. Deok-soo's death, it didn't have any weight to it. For me, it just felt very underwhelming. I just was like, okay, who cares, right? He just gets tackled. You don't actually get to see him or Minyo die. Minyo tackles him because they had sex, and he betrays her, so she's kind of pissed off at him. She survives the marble game by not having a partner somehow. And then she tackles Deok-soo on the glass, and they both fall to their deaths. Okay. I feel like there should have been a little bit more weight, because Deok-soo is one of the few characters we actually get to see in his normal day-to-day life. So I wish they somehow did something with him. Because it feels like, once again, his character, we see his backstory. We get to see who he is, how he's playing the game. Only for it to just kind of end. I wish we got a little bit more in terms of his character development or in terms of his own personal journey, but instead he just like decides to hold up the line and gets tackled. That's it. I don't, I I wasn't a fan of it the way he went out. But it wasn't like a big deal. What did piss me off, like Junho's death, Saibyo's death, Saibyo's death pissed me off. She survives the hopscotch glass game with Gi-hoon and Sungwoo. So they're the final 3 contestants in this game. When they survive the game, and when the time runs out, usually when the timer runs out, they execute this whole thing just in case there were people still playing by killing them all. And how they decided they were going to do that with this glass game was to just effing explode every glass panel that was still up there, which caused a flurry of glass, which cut all 3 of our finalists. So first off, the big thing about one of the big things in the first few episodes, the frontman makes a big deal of the games being fair. He said that this is supposed to create a fair balance between the contestants. So when the staff intervene, or when someone starts cheating, that has ruined the fairness of play and they get killed. There's a doctor early in the show who starts working with staff to harvest organs, but then he does it in exchange for information about the next game. That was deemed as cheating, so they're all killed and strung up from one of those little things you hang above a baby cradle, a mobile. So they have that established. And then they proceed to break their own rules in this game by exploding glass, which unfairly endangers the lives of our 3 contestants, and then actually leads to Saibyo's death. She gets impaled with a piece of glass, so then the next episode, while Sungwoo and Gi-hoon are having a stare-off and yelling at each other and all this kind of stuff, Saibyo is just trying to get this glass out and patch herself up, and she's slowly dying, and I'm sitting here going, where's the medics? Why aren't they sending any medics? Why the F did they even friggin' do this in the first place? Because that's not fair at all. The frontman talked about fairness at the beginning of all this, and then they proceed to explode glass that unfairly puts our contestants at risk and actually directly leads to one of our contestants dying. Really? That's the way you're going to do this. You're going to have our 3 contestant finalists going into the final game, but you really needed 2. So why the crap did you just not kill Saibyo in that game and have this massive dramatic death that had... Well, actually, no. Why didn't they do that? Because in the final thing, the reason they survive is because it's them 3 and a glass maker. And the glass manufacturer is trying to figure out which glass is which because he's made glass before. They shut off the lights and stopping his ability to do so. And so he takes too long. The timer's running down. Sungwoo pushes the guy through to one of the glass panels, and it breaks. He falls through, and the last 3 survive. Gi-hoon gets pissed off at him. He's like, "You killed him! How dare you kill him?" First off, whoa there, Gi-hoon, you just effing killed an old man 2 episodes ago. I wouldn't be talking too much, you monster. Sungwoo was just doing the same thing as you in those early episodes. But also, oh, you didn't know this guy. Why are you getting so pissed off at him? You're not pissed off at Sungwoo for freaking yeeting Ali and betraying him and getting him killed? Why aren't you pissed off at yourself for getting Ilnam freaking murdered, huh? Freaking hypocrite. Freaking hypocrite little hoe. But it comes off as very hypocritical because it's like, you didn't know this guy. Like, I think you'd be more pissed off if it was Ali or Ilnam or, the characters who run in your inner circle. This was just some random guy that Sung-woo murders. And while, yeah, that's bad, you had no problem with it earlier. So why not just kill Saibyo there? Why not have Saibyo in front of Sung-woo? Time's running out. She gets to the last thing, and Sung-woo gets impatient, so he just pushes her, kills her. Because Saibyo and Gi-hoon have this relationship at this point. They have a friendship, this deep connection with each other. So why not just do that? So then you still have your final two contestants. They can have their arguments. They scream and yell at each other. And, like, Gi-hoon's pissed because this was someone he genuinely had, like, a close relationship to, where at the very least with Il-nam, yes, he took pity on the old man and, like, had that relationship, and they said they were friends and all that. But, like, I feel like Saibyo and Gi-hoon's relationship was much deeper than that. Like, why not do that? Or, hey, I mean, here's another thing. In the episode where she dies, she's stabbed with glass, she's bleeding out, she's slowly dying. Gi-hoon goes to get some medics, and Sung-woo slits her throat, saying that he's trying to put her out of her misery. And then Gi-hoon gets pissed off, and it's like, that's the line that Sung-woo has now crossed. If we were going to do that and use that as, like, Gi-hoon's motivation to, want to kill Sung-woo and want to beat him in this game, then what was the point of the glass? Huh? Like, what? I'm sorry. I'm leaning into the mic and I'm screaming. What was the point of the glass exploding then? If she was going to finally die by Sung-woo's blade. Just don't have the glass freaking explode. Just don't have that happen. And they, like, go and have dinner and get dressed up. They have all these conversations, and Saibyo falls asleep. Sung-woo decides to take advantage of that and slit her freaking throat. We don't need this pointless, retarded... We don't need this pointless freaking plot development that narratively breaks what we have learned, breaks the story rules, while also creating a plot contrivance. Just get rid of that and just have it have it more naturally build up to where Sung-woo just slits her throat, and that can now be, instead of just she's dying, he has now completely bought into the competition, and he's taking advantage of it. Like, what's to stop you from doing that? Just saying. I'm just saying, like, that was so frustrating to me. And one last conclusion-based frustration I had was that they decided, well, first off, the last episode they did what some of these Netflix shows do that pisses me off is conclude the main story in the first 20 minutes and then have another 40 minutes of just denouement, teasing the next season even, and it's slow and boring. But they decided to go, hey, you want to know who created the Squid Game? Because that was something we were all wondering. I don't think any of the audience actually really cared because it wasn't a part of the mystery. It wasn't part of this whole build-up. They teased the creator in one episode when the VIP showed up. But, like, I don't think anyone really cared all that much. No one really cared who created the Squid Game. I'm sure they could have, like, done a tease and developed it in the next season. The fact that they're like, no, we're going to reveal it to you. It's Il-nam, the old man, because you didn't get to see him die on screen. So, like, that's the only logical twist villain for this. And they have a brief conversation, and then he dies. And it's like, What was the point of that? Well, like, we have two massive plot, like, twist reveals that serve no purpose in my mind. That only serve the purpose of just, like, ooh, twist. Because Gi-hoon knowing that Il-nam started this and like, was all a part of the whole game while playing it, how does that change Gi-hoon? Because Gi-hoon just does that, and then he's like, all right, screw it. I'm still going to leave, and I'm going to go and live about my business until he sees someone getting the crap smacked out of him and decides to go to war on Squid Game. So that doesn't really add much added motivation to Gi-hoon. It doesn't, set up a future threat where Il-nam goes, oh yes, I'm the villain, and now I'm coming back next season to be the villain. No, because he effing dies. So what was the point of it? Most people were already under the assumption that Il-nam was dead to begin with. So you bring him back, reveal that he's still alive, only to reveal he's the bad guy all along, and then kill him off immediately. Then what was the point? Like, it feels like the point was just to have a twist antagonist. That's really all it felt like, because they could have gotten rid of that scene, and that episode would have worked out fine with Gi-hoon seeing Train to Busan Man smack the dude outside of a subway, gives him motivation to go after Squid Game, and Frontman can still be the bad guy. Like, we didn't need the twist. We didn't. It was pointless. It kind of ruined a character that I really liked. So I don't know. It just didn't work for me. I didn't like it. At the end of the day, this show was pretty good. There are just some massively, massively frustrating things in here for me. I understand why people like it. It is unique in its approach to the Battle Royale survival story. The Hunger Games, the Battle Royale, the Lord of the Flies type situation. It is a wholly unique situation. It has some good social commentary woven throughout about the exploitation of the people who are in need, people who have vices, and who are exploited by those in power. All of that. But holy crap, like, this dude, I forget his name, who created it, guy, like, learn how to properly end a story in a satisfying way. Like, honestly, if you had nailed the ending, this would have been a 9 out of 10 show. Like, small things bothered me here and there, but I'd be able to move past it. But holy crap, like, it pisses its pants at the finish line. Like, it collapsed. It had an asthma attack and fell over, like, 10 feet from finishing. I wanted to like it more going in. It's super popular. I am a bit of a contrarian by nature. I really like not liking things that people like, if that makes sense, right? If someone, take for example the whole MCU stuff right now. People loved Black Widow. Black Widow was getting rave reviews before it came out. And when I went in, I did not like it all that much. I took a more negative approach to it. Free Guy has been getting mostly negative press for the most part. And I ended up enjoying it fine enough, I guess. But it was also getting really positive reviews, but I'm not, like, all the way out there. I just find myself, like, there's these, especially 2021, there's these movies that have been coming out that are just either super polarizing or that are just really loved or really hated, and I ended up falling in the middle. I don't like to just be like, oh yes, I really loved this movie, when I didn't. But, like, with this show, I genuinely, like, going into it, I was like, I think I might like this. And I did until the end. And I was like, dang, I really did not want to be contrary on this show. But man, I'll watch this season 2. That's all I'll say. But as it stands right now, as a show with the status of the most viewed, most popular show on Netflix, with rave reviews, I think it has a 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb, which is really good for a TV show. It critics love it, audiences love it. I think it's overrated. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's an overrated show. I think it's solid, but dude, it needed to end better for me to fully go, yes, this show is amazing. As of right now, good show. I would even encourage you to check it out, but it is not near as good as it should have been, as it's been hyped up to be. And that's kind of disappointing. So yeah, let's wrap up today's episode with some weekly recommendations. Let's give some more positive groove back in our stride as we wrap up here today. Weekly recommendations, and it is just now occurring to me that I did not actually load up any graphics for these. I was going to click them and I looked down and I said, oh, I didn't actually put them into my system. So that's unfortunate. I'm not going to go in and edit this kind of stuff in because I got other things I need to be doing. I think I have a quiz to do. So, woo! School, college rules. All right, weekly recommendations. First, I got Night of the Hunter. It is a 1953 black and white thriller movie starring what's his name? I think I want to say Charles Heston, but I'm not entirely sure. He could have directed it too. I don't know. It's a really good movie. It's about this pastor marrying this woman in order to figure out where she has like a lot of money stashed away, and he wants that money. The issue is she has 2 kids who are very suspicious of him. He tortures them. He pesters them. They go on the run, and it becomes him trying to chase them down. Lillian Gish is in it. She does a great job. The kids do a great job. And it's disappointing that this was a first and only time director doing this movie, because I would have liked to see what he did with other stuff. There's some really spooky and unsettling imagery. I really like, there's a shot where it's just him, the pastor writing on the horizon. It's just an outline. It's just a silhouette, and he's singing a hymn, and I don't remember which hymn it is. But it's a really solid movie. I think it's the original Love, Hate. The pastor walks around and he has love tattooed on one hand and hate tattooed on the other, and he does this whole thing where it says hate is Abel and love, or hate is Cain and love is Abel, and they're in this constant fight, and love will win sometimes and hate will win. It's this whole thing, and I think that's where that whole imagery originated. I know Do the Right Thing. There's a character that wears kind of these brass knuckles that have love and hate on it. I think that's where they got the idea. But yeah, really good movie. Highly recommend that. Next will be I think it's a Japanese movie. It's called Audition. It is messed up. It's a little messed up. It's about this chronically lonely guy pretending to hold auditions for a TV show or a movie when really it's these girls auditioning for a date with him. So he's manipulating these girls in order to really meet this one girl that's caught his eye so he could go down on a date with her, find a mother for his son. But as we get nearer to the end, like I said, the movie gets a little messed up. You're just gonna have to watch it. The first giant chunk is really slow. It's a slow burn, but it's a really interesting character study that delves into loneliness and this desire for companionship. I think it's really good. And finally, a little movie called The TV Set. It stars Sigourney Weaver, David Duchovny, and Ian Gruffin. All three fantastic actors. I think also Judy Greer is her name, is in it, from like Arrested Development, Halloween Kills. But they do a great job. It's a little like comedy drama about David Duchovny trying to get a pilot episode off the ground, but constantly battling with network demands and that kind of stuff that cripples his creative process. I thought it was really good. Not quite that funny, but I think it was clever. I think it was smart in its writing and just kind of portraying this very dog-eat-dog world of Hollywood, even just in network television, where you constantly have to compromise on your creative storytelling in order to create a syndicated show that the studio thinks audiences will like. And watching it, it's like, well, now it makes sense why there's so many NCISs and CSIs and they all feel exactly the same. It's most likely because the network just stepped in and said, look, I know you want to create this psychological crime drama, but that's not going to rope in fans. So we're just going to change it to CSI Miami, and the main character is going to whip... he's going to whip some sunglasses on and off and make stupid puns while we get... Ow! Bow, bow. And it'll feel exactly like any other CSI show, but this one's in Miami. Like... It makes sense. It makes sense to me now. But yeah, that's all I got for you. Nice, young, old, middle-aged, baby viewers I have out there. I don't know how many people are going to watch this shoot. But thank you for watching if you are watching. If you got this far, I genuinely appreciate it. If you enjoyed this episode, any other episode, please smash the subscribe button, the like button. Let me know in the comments, what did you think about Squid Game? Have you seen it? Do you think it deserves to be like the most popular thing on Netflix? Do you think it deserves the love? Do you think it deserves a bit more critical thinking? Did it frustrate you towards the end, or were you fine with it? Let me know down in the comment section below. Same thing with Rumble. Hit the Rumble button. Leave me a comment. Press subscribe. If you're listening on podcast, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating. All the good stuff. I will leave you alone now. I hope you guys have a good night. I'm about to take a quiz. I'm planning on going to see The French Dispatch tonight. Wes Anderson's new movie, and then at some point this week I'm going to try to check out Last Night in Soho from Edgar Wright. And yeah, that's all I got for you. This has been the Cinema Lounge podcast, and we chilled and talked about Squid Game. My name has been Garrett Inman, your loyal host for the 37th week in a row, I believe. Well, not in a row, but for the 37th episode. I hope to see you guys next week, and until then, always remember, get really good at those freaking games you played as kids, because you never know when that's going to come in handy. Master that hopscotching and that jump roping, and you never know. You never know when a life or death situation of Among Us is going to come up. Is that still a topical reference? Or did I just date myself? Thank you all. Have a good night. Among Us!